KMTC 11s have a very similar setup on the back side of them. But getting to it is a little bit different than it is with the KMXL speakers. So if you'll flip around that KMTC for me, we can show them how we recommend to replace the tweeter diaphragm in that guy. So,
all right, so you see the back side over here. You're going to have the same size screws as you do on the KMXL.
So there's 8 of them that go all the way around the back of that can. And if you take those 8 screws out, that little silver trim ring comes off the back side of the tower enclosure. And once you take and remove that, then you can use a screwdriver to pry off the KICKER logo on the back side of the enclosure, which even if you're not trying to recone these speakers, that logo is rotatable on the back, or it's clockable. So like if you're mounting these upside down or right side up, you can undo that rear trim ring just like Carlos is doing and rotate that logo on the back side so it matches the orientation of the front of the speaker.
So Jacob, I'm not looking at the comments, but I'm pretty sure somebody's made a comment of, why aren't you guys using a drill? Why are we not using a drill?
Because we didn't grab one.
Exactly. But you usually don't want to, especially in small screws, you don't want to use a drill if you can. You want to just do it by hand, make your life a little bit easier. Actually, I kind of got ahead of myself here. So you're going to take this silver trim ring off, and then you're going to see, and if you've never taken it off before, it's going to be on pretty tight because it's probably going to have a little bit of glue on there.
Yeah.
So what you're going to end up doing,
Glued, there's a gasket back there. We want to try and keep water out of the inside of that enclosure as much as possible.
you'll see that you have a couple holes right here, one on top, one on the bottom. You're just going to put a flathead screwdriver, pop it off.
All right.
Then you see your crossover on the bottom here.
And now we're getting into kind of an interesting part of the speaker. So what you guys are seeing through that hole right now is going to be the crossover network for the KMTC towers. Now these are also bi-ampable, but there is a passive crossover inside just to divvy up that signal. So if you take and wire your tweeter wires in parallel with your mid-range wires, they're going to have crossover points already set. So you guys can run them full range without bi-amping them on any amplifier you want to. But there are 4 bolts that hold that crossover network to the back of the speaker. And once you remove those 4 bolts, you can push that crossover network out of the way and then access the 4 screws that hold that same kind of backplate in place on the back side of that speaker. And then at that point, it's exactly like reconing the KMXL tweeter, except it's just in a little bit of an enclosed space because it's still inside the enclosure. And a little bit hard to see in there. We don't have a flashlight necessarily, but you know, it pretty much looks just like the other one that you guys saw.
It looks exactly like this guy back here. And I'm sorry if I'm shaking here, but it's pretty heavy.
No, you're just nervous, don't lie.
Yeah, that too.
I'm nervous too, it's okay. But anyway, we
so you guys
recommend
get the idea.
doing it this way just because it's like, there's another way you could do it where you take the front grill off and take the speaker out the front way, but that's a lot of work. And what you don't see is that there's a little L bracket inside of that tower that supports the magnet of the speaker that actually bolts to that mounting hardware on the bottom side of the enclosure. So you have to remove the whole like mounting, I guess, what would you call that? Like a slug or a mounting point on there? You've got to remove that from the enclosure. You've got to undo some bolts, and then you can take that out. But then you've got to worry about your LED wires and everything else. So it's easiest just to take that back plate off and replace the diaphragm that way.